In today's episode of Banterpreneurs, we explore being fully sick in business and how our body knows best.
Lindsay drops a perler about not fighting against reality.
And Laura surrenders to the Great British Bake Off.
Solopreneurs, come on down! Unpacking all your business woes on the go. Your queens of business banter, Laura and Lindsay. You're in for a hilarious half hour of unconventional, unpredictable, unadulterated solopreneur shenanigans, jam-packed with pearls of wisdom and actionable aha moments. Let's get ready to banter!
Hello and welcome to this episode of Banterpreneurs. She's Lindsay. She's an improv teacher, a creativity coach, and she likes to ride ponies in the rain.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a second. She's Laura, and she is a performance coach, a professional speaker, and she's been coughing up a lot of stuff lately.
See, your thing was so much prettier. It might have been an absolute
I was
lie.
wondering. Yeah. It's a lie, and it definitely is a lie because I've got a bit of a fear of horses. So that's not.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, massive fear of them.
What, are you serious?
Yes,
I've never met anybody. I've never met anybody who's got like a.
Yeah,
fear of
I really don't like. I look, I'm okay to sort of go near them, but don't ask me to get on one or
sort of like be right near it, kind of thing, or feed it, or like
just I don't mind feeding them so much. It's just being on them. That's my fear.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and in a closed quarters.
On them in a closed quarters. When are you going to be on a horse? I'm on this horse in a hallway, and I'm just feeling.
I don't like it.
That's hilarious. Okay, so that's a separate thought. So either on a horse or in an enclosed space.
Yeah,
is that what
in a hallway with a horse.
Yeah. I am also not good with like in enclosed spaces either.
Yes.
Horses mainly, it's like I'm 5 foot, they're 7 foot, whatever, I'm a bit about.
Do you think you could walk underneath the horse then without bending down? If you had to.
I'd have to bend down. Yeah, I'd have to bend down.
Oh, you would.
It depends. Is it a Clydesdale? Like what horse are we talking about?
I don't know, but I'd just love to see you limbo a horse now.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. So. Like I used to when I was a kid ride like Shetland ponies and stuff. I think Shetland pony. That's my I can probably get on a Shetland pony, but apparently they're really bad tempered. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that's about.
That's not going to work.
It just made me feel a bit. But I got to say, I do feel weird like riding a horse. I do feel a bit like, oh, this could go wrong. But it's even just for me, like sort of feeding them or being near it because they're just huge. Unless they're a Shetland pony, I'm kind of like, okay. So it was all right. You said ponies because you said that I was
okay. See, I subconsciously knew.
You knew, okay? Yeah.
What about camel? Is it all big animals?
Yeah. Like I reckon that would freak me out.
Okay.
Apart from the fact that don't they like spit at you and shit? Like
that's true.
Yeah, I'm not into.
I think we've just found a segue into what we want to talk about today.
Okay.
Probably we've spoken about animals enough, but talking of spitting,
right?
I know the listeners are probably thinking, where the heck is that going to go? Well, let me just give you a minute to take it where you want to take it.
Right. Okay. So that's my entry in, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Spitting phlegm.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And that sort of comes back to me saying that you were spitting a lot. You have a lot of phlegm at the moment.
I do have a lot of phlegm, so I apologise for the phlegm.
This is a phlegm apology, guys, okay?
Yeah.
There's phlegm going on. This is a phlegmology, okay?
Yes. Oh, that's the one.
Just saying, right? So basically what I wanted to talk about is, when you have your own business, when you're a solopreneur, when you get sick, the ship goes down, man. You know what I mean? Like you're
yes.
What are you going to do? You know what I mean? And it's really, really hard. Like, especially like for me this year, I reckon most of this year I've been either sick or injured.
That's true. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, like I had COVID for like 62 days, and then like it took me till day 80 to feel better. I had a blocked ear for 4 months. I had a torn calf, back problem, allergies. So I hate being sick. I hate it. And I think part of the reason is like that you feel sort of weak and you shouldn't be sick and you should push yourself and all this stuff. Yeah. You recently have had your own health kind of issues, if you want to talk about that.
If you can even call it a health issue, stupid COVID.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've managed to dodge it for this long.
I was going to say you're like the last person I know, you're the last woman standing to get it.
I know. Well, not really, because it knocked me off my little tiny feet.
Yeah. It's hardcore.
And yeah, it's hardcore. And also, newsflash, I'm pregnant, by the way. So it hit.
Reveal.
And so I think it hit me even harder. But the reason I'm saying that is because it's made me have to think differently about being sick, because normally as a business owner, but also as a type A annoying personality, I push through, which is why I also burnt out. We can talk about that another time or later. But I couldn't push through this time. Number one, it did hit me really hard. But number two, it's like, well, I actually am responsible for another human being.
Yes.
So if I push through, I'm not just potentially fucking myself. You know, I could be hurting the fetus. I don't know if it's still a fetus. I don't know if you still call it a fetus at this point, but whatever.
The being that is within.
Being. Oh no, because that makes me. No, I don't like calling it the being. It's like it's going to come out and stab me. It's going to watch me sleep. It has made me take it easier on myself, which is interesting.
Yeah, and long overdue, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Pot, kettle, black.
Totally pot, kettle, black. And Luke will definitely vouch for, like when he found out I had COVID, he was freaking out because he knows when I get sick, man, oh my God, I'm the worst sick in the world.
Oh, are you worse than a man? Yes, everyone. Yes, I just said that.
Yes, I am. I'm going to say it. And it's not just that, because it's not just the whinging, but it's the raging. Like I get really angry about being sick and what I'm missing out on and what I can't do and all this sort of stuff.
Okay, well, I was just about to ask why. So is it FOMO?
Yeah, it probably is FOMO, but it's kind of, I mean, there's also just that kind of weakness thing as well. Mm-hmm. Like, oh God, here we go again. It's bloody always something sort of thwarting my plans.
Yes.
And it is, because it's like I hate that feeling of being thwarted. Can't stand it. And
what's a synonym of thwarted?
Oh, I don't even know if there is one. It's just such a good word. Thwarted,
scuppered.
Stopped by doing something. I don't know. Yeah. I can't even. There's just something really nice about that word that I like.
Yeah, I like it too. I'll Google it after.
Yeah, Google it. And maybe you guys can Google it too and just give us is there a better word than thwarted? I don't think you're going to find one, but I'm putting the challenge out. So this is the thing. How can we keep sort of running the business? How can we be gentle on ourselves? And I've got to say, I'm very, very proud of how I handled COVID, because I mean, even Luke to this day will say, wow, I was so surprised how well you handled it, because I really did, for the first time, I really did just surrender to the process of healing. Whereas usually it's kind of, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, because I'll push and then I'll surrender, and then I'll push and then I'll surrender. But through that whole thing, even though it lasted so long, that really challenged me. I was able to not sort of go into a depression or something like that. I was able to work in the business in things that were, maybe hadn't got done but weren't too much of a head strain.
Taxing, yeah.
Yeah. So that real kind of energy management thing,
Yeah. So I'm curious what was different this time that allowed you to be more surrendery?
I think I had a real fear of getting COVID because my brother-in-law died of it. So I really had a fear of it, and I don't like being sick at the best of times, but I certainly don't like being sick with an alien virus. Which is how I feel COVID is, because it doesn't feel right. It feels like weird.
That's true.
So it was kind of like one of my worst fears, and then it happened. Then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not dead.
Do it.
All right then. Okay. It was like when I first started flying, my biggest fear was getting sick on a plane, and then it happened, like alone on a plane sick, and it happened. And then after that, I was like, oh wow, I can actually survive being sick on a plane on my own.
Isn't it interesting? It's like that we experience literally all the time in so many different ways, especially in business. It's like the fear of unknown, but then the fear of unknown gets coupled with catastrophizing. Yes. And then it's this whole big thing. And then I was going to say more often than not, but I'd say probably nearly 100% of the time, it's never as bad as what our brain has kind of built up. And if we can just be present in the moment and go, it's going to be okay. What do I need to do? Here's what I need to do. Then it's always way better than we think. That's a really nice example of that, actually.
Yeah. And it was interesting, that feeling of surrender, because I'm not a surrendery type person. Like I'm not really that person. So I think, it was another element that, and it got me sort of meditating again, like, because I had to sort of calm myself and have that ability to surrender. So I think a lot of it has to do with accepting things as they are, not as how you want them to be.
Oh, that's major.
Yeah.
Needs a wah, 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 wah.
Where's our sound effect, man? I thought we were going to get one. We don't have it.
It's time to have a cup of tea.
Yeah. So I think a lot of energy sometimes is wasted pushing against reality. So this is the reality, and then I'm pushing against it, but I'm actually just wasting energy when I could be conserving that energy,
Yes.
So, I think that part of that is an interesting concept when it comes to being sick. How do you really just conserve the energy you need to get better rather than fighting the reality of what's going on, It was hard.
That's so true. And I think, there's obviously this being sick is the extreme of that, but I actually think we do it all day, every day. So like I mentioned just previously that I burnt out. I think I didn't I?
Yes,
or
you
did
did.
I say that in my head? Okay.
No, you did.
And that was a result of me constantly pushing against reality, quite honestly, pushing against the fact that physically I wasn't feeling great. Hormonal things, bloating, digestive things, energy things, fatigue, like all these things, brain fog, which I think is still with me right now.
That's COVID, man. That's COVID,
man. That's COVID, man. COVID brain. So there was that fighting against the reality of my physical body, but then there was fighting against the reality of the fact that I'd got all these ridiculous goals. So it was when I'd opened up a gym. I got these ridiculous goals that weren't achievable, that I'd be constantly beating myself up for not achieving them. I was constantly trying to be this image of who I thought I should be, because it was my first business. So it was like, oh, as a business owner, I should be this, I should do this. So rather than just, like you were saying, being, I can't remember the words you used, but they were really good. Listen back, guys, you'll get the good words. But being in the reality and going with it. So the reality is this is me. And this is what is realistic to achieve. This is what I really want to achieve, because the ultimate outcomes were bullshit. I wanted a big boat. Like, no, I didn't.
Do you really?
But that's what I used to think I wanted. So, I was constantly fighting against all these different elements of reality. And eventually my body just went, fuck you.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah,
You're not listening to me.
Actually. I love that. Fuck you, actually.
Hello.
I'm shutting down. Okay, I'm shutting down.
I am done. And that's interesting. I've never thought about it like that before from that perspective. But that's what I think most people are constantly doing every single day, whether it is for striving for things they don't actually want, whether it is being who they think they should be, whether it is fighting against physical things when they should just back up a little bit. It's this constant fighting against reality rather than just being in it and accepting it and taking steps within that moment to move through it. That's what's causing us all to be bloody knackered and miserable.
Yeah, I reckon that's so true. So it's that inability to accept what is, and what the truth is and what the authentic truth is about that. Like you said, you don't really want a boat, but you kind of sort of been convinced in some way that you should want a boat. And so then you think you do want a boat. And then you've got to do all this stuff to get the boat that you don't want.
Yeah, I know. What the F?
Yeah. So it's
so
somewhat self-defeating in a sense.
Yes.
And it reminds me of something that just happened like recently. So I put on my last level 1 for the year. But to be honest, I didn't feel that congruent about it. Like I was like, you know what? I haven't had a holiday since 2011. So I'm kind of feeling like,
girlfriend.
Literally. Okay. So I'm kind of like, maybe I could have a week off. Like, like this year worked super hard, even though I've been not my 100%. So I'm like, wow, I'm very proud. But I don't need to do another level 1 because there's only, how many weeks are left of the year? There's probably like 6 weeks left.
Like
of the year or something,
2.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly 2. It's like 5 minutes left of the year, right? So it's like, and then so I went on Eventbrite and I actually changed it to postponed. Do you know how huge that was for me?
Ooh.
Change something to postpone. I've never postponed anything. Pretty much, I can't think of any time that I've postponed something. And I was like, oh my God, what's everybody going to think? Oh, they're going to think that I can't do the thing. Oh my God, it's postponed. Why is it postponed? What's going to, and all this. And it's like, no, that's the right thing to do with where I am at the moment is to just bloody well postpone it. So just postpone it and then, do it in 10 minutes instead of 5, do it in 8 weeks instead of 6 or 12 weeks, whatever, so that's a bit of a victory for me from that perspective because as you know, I've had the back thing and the calf thing and the allergy thing recently as well. And I really do feel like I'm on that border of the burnout thing. Like I'm on that border. So it's kind of like
got to nip it in the bud.
Got to postpone, man. Got to postpone.
100%. And the other thing as well is, you're someone who likes to do things well. I think probably most of us listening right now and on the podcast are like that. So it's ironic because we keep pushing through because we think we don't want to let people down or we've got all this stuff to do. But by pushing through, we're not operating at our optimum. So we're not then getting the results we want. So we beat ourselves up for not doing that. And then we push ourselves further down anyway.
God, we're horrible.
So it makes sense that you postpone so that you can have the break and show up how you really 100%. Want to show up and do a good job and deliver the value that is so important to you to deliver. And if people don't get that,
100%.
Then fuck them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you would remember like at school or if you had like a sort of office job or something like that and the person that would just like turn up and fully like be coughing everywhere and I just came to work.
Yeah, it's like well done, hero.
Please don't. Okay, because number 1, you just got to give it to everyone. And number 2, I'm not going to get your best work. Okay, it's not going to happen. So please, just go home, watch The Bold and the Beautiful,
take
whatever.
Your
just don't.
Phlegm.
Yeah, take your phlegm and leave. All right.
Well, it's true. Good. This is why it's good that we're online, so I can be as phlegmy as I like.
Yeah, totally. And that is a blessing with working online, even doing improv and stuff. Like when I was in COVID, when I got to a point where I wasn't completely bloody dying, but I was okay, but I wasn't good enough to be sort of doing anything major. I just did improv from bed.
Yes, I know. I was in one of those classes. Yeah. It was excellent. Although I have to say, I thought of you when I was in bed with COVID and I was like, I don't even know how she did that because I was even struggling to watch the Great British Bake Off some days. Which is major.
Look, I've got to say it's only because it's improv. If it was anything else, and it's only because it gives you that dopamine or whatever. So I felt good for that amount of time. I still crashed afterwards, like completely.
Yeah.
But it's only just because I knew this is going to make me feel a bit more positive. So I'm gonna do it. And that's the beauty of online, man. Like you can do that stuff. So
you can do it from bed. in your big pants. That's one thing.
Even though I'm not saying, I mean, because I'm almost negating everything we've just said. Do not work from bed, people, if you can.
No. That's right.
That's bad. I'm negating everything that I've just said.
And
people.
that's why her COVID lasted for 80 days, everybody,
that's right.
and not 73.
That's exactly right, guys. So just do not do what I do.
Don't do that.
Just don't do it. I mean, I loved it, but don't do it.
I think by now with this podcast, you should all have established that you should do what we say, not what we do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Totally. We're like
Let's
parents.
Just confirm that right
just
now.
Do what we say. Yeah,
exactly.
Just know what we do.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're here to make those mistakes. You know what I mean?
That's what we selflessly make all the mistakes for you,
totally.
guys. You are welcome.
We're saving you, okay? That's
I
what
didn't
we're
even
doing.
want to get pregnant, but I was like, well, there's so
I have
many
to have this experience for you guys.
Dad business owners out there.
Yeah.
You're going to do it. God damn it. You're
Totally.
welcome again.
Yeah.
/ can you all please help me?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'll tell you what, that's a good lesson in being in the moment is pregnancy, and I'm sure as will parenthood. Actually, it's interesting. I had a conversation with my hubby a couple of days ago, and we got a couple of restaurants. That's what he does in his whole life. When he's not eating things, he's either eating it or preparing things for other people to eat.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how he can be very fixed on a path. And he actually said he gets like panicky if something happens outside of that path. So, he'll schedule his day. Even when I had COVID, I'd ask him to go to the supermarket for me, and he would go because he's nice, but he was like, that would really throw me out and send me into a panic when I had to go to the supermarket for you every day. And I was like, well, why didn't you just schedule it in then, dumbass? Because it was definitely going to happen. Anyway, that's a side story. But I said to him, I was like, what do you think it's going to be like when we have a kid? There's going to be so many things that come up that you cannot predict, you cannot schedule. And that's same thing as we're talking about now, right? Like his new reality, our new reality is going to be that we cannot predict what's going to happen. So, and I'm similar, like I like to, get certain things done in a day, and I get the shits if I can't get it done. I'm a bit more cognizant of it. But that's us fighting against reality, or we have the potential to fight against reality all day, every day. We are going to have to surrender to this being.
Surrender to the being.
If we don't want to put ourselves into a hole, which is the exact same thing we're talking about with being sick and, setting unrealistic goals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And really, you're not really doing a disservice to anyone but yourself if you're not accepting the reality, because then you really do have expectations that are too high, and you are going to fail.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and you're setting yourself up.
Terrifying result. Yeah.
Pride comes before a fall. You're setting yourself up to have that not happen the way that you think that this shit should happen.
Yeah.
And then you're opening up a whole other can of worms of like, I'm not good enough, or I can't do shit.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff.
100%. And I'm going into this genuinely thinking the best thing I believe I can be for my child is to be myself. Because I've been immersed in a world for 38 years. I've probably mastered it the last couple of years, where it's constantly should, striving to be something else, pushing against reality all the time. Yeah. And it has not served me well. People I've grown up with around me, parents, caregivers, all that kind of thing. Now looking back in hindsight, you can see that they were constantly surrounded by their insecurities. And of course that has an impact on the way that you view the world. And, you see all of the shit that they go through as a result of it. So I want to, like, her world, it's a girl, by the way, is going to be whatever although I'm terrified also of that, periods and boys and stuff. Her world at the beginning is going to be whatever the hell I set it up to be. Yeah. So I want to set it up to be a place where we're present, where we have fun, where we are ourselves, where we explore, where we're curious.
Yes.
I cannot set that world up if I am constantly fighting against reality.
Yeah, and
That's
you bring
simple.
up a good point too, and this is something that's really important in improv, and what we find in improv is the gift of curiosity. And the thing is that if you know everything that's going to happen, you don't have any curiosity, and curiosity is what actually creates innovation. You know, that's what creates 100%. New ideas and possibilities and stuff like that. So, you know, pushing yourself into one way of thinking about something, you know, this is how it has to be. Yeah, I mean, you really are setting up for a fall. Really
yeah,
are.
exactly. And again, you know, it applies to everything. When we are pushing against reality, we are narrowing everything. We're narrowing our world because we believe that this is the only way. We kind of trick ourselves into thinking that. But when we do back up and sit within reality, it allows those curiosity parts of our brain to open up again, the problem-solving parts to open up again. So like you said, then you can get innovative, whether it is about how to recover, or whether it is about how to raise your child, or whether it is how to, you know, solve this business challenge that you've got going on. Like, you need that curiosity, that innovation, the problem-solving brain.
Totally. And I think there's heaps of people, like, I mean, you can probably Google it, people, but I mean, one example that sticks out to mind is Dave Stewart from Eurythmics. He had a massive car accident and he had to be in hospital for like months and months. And he was a guitar player originally, but because of the accident, you know, he couldn't really strum and stuff. So Annie Lennox, who's the lead singer of Eurythmics, she brought him a tiny little keyboard just so that he could play. So just, you know, still be musical, but just do what he could do. And then the album that he wrote from bed basically became one of the biggest albums that they ever had.
Amazing.
So it's really interesting, you know, if he just thought, oh, I'm a guitarist and this is, and I got to get better and, you know, all this, he wouldn't have been able to go, okay, so I can't do that, but what can I do? Oh,
yes,
I can play
that's a great question.
And it was the new sound, and it brought through a new keyboard sort of based sound for them and for a lot of other people after them. So, yeah, I think that's
story.
It's a really important thing that, you know, sometimes the biggest innovations or the biggest inventions come through adversity. So whatever that adversity is, somebody is just accepting the adversity, but going, how can I be creative around this, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, we don't have to wait for adversity.
Yeah.
If we actually can be in this reality rather than fighting against or trying to be in a different reality that doesn't exist, we can still tap into that, you know, like he always had that within him. It's just that he was following this one reality, right? So, you know, obviously when something happens, it forces you to switch and it forces you to think differently. But he didn't like all of a sudden acquire this skill. It was just that he found it within himself. It's all there already.
Yeah, and it's totally like exactly what happened to me when the pandemic happened and I had to go online with improv. I'd been thinking of doing online improv for like years. But I'd never done it. I could have.
Yeah.
But I didn't. It was just that I was pushed into doing it. You know, and the thing, that's okay. Like, that's okay. And that's, you know, that's how it happened. But again, it's stressful to be pushed into something. So like you said, it's good to be really aware of what reality is so that you can open up to those possibilities while accepting reality without having to be pushed into
it.
Change, you know, of some sort.
Okay, here's what's in my head. Two things. One, what do you think prevents us from doing that in our daily lives as opposed to waiting for something to push us? And then I think the second question is, but I think I also forgot it at the same time. I think the second question is, how can we nurture that? And I think you're best equipped to answer this. I've just decided that.
You've decided it, yeah. Okay, so the first thing is that your brain is built for patterns and it likes patterns. Yeah. So that's probably the reason why we really do hold on to those things that we go, this is what we want, this is what we want to do, this is the person I should be, this is because it creates a mental map and then your brain goes, okay, so that's what I need to do to follow it.
And it loves certainty, right? So
it loves certainty. It loves certainty, whereas innovation is about uncertainty. So the thing is, I think it was Anthony Robbins, and there was somebody before that, but I don't know who it was. The 6 human needs, and the first 2 is certainty versus uncertainty, right? So we do both. We need both. We need both. If you have too much certainty, then you don't have enough variety. You don't have enough uncertainty. So for me, improv is that thing. So, it gets you thinking. You'll be in a scene and you think it's going to go a certain way, but if you're not open, it's going to be a shit scene because you're trying to control the scene, So it's about opening up to those possibilities and tricking your brain, basically, from going, because your brain will say, no, but it should be. It should be this. It should be
and
this.
You're like, calm down, dear. Let's just go with it.
And it's like, okay, it should be. But is that
but it's not.
Fun? Okay?
Yes.
And another question I'm going to ask is, would you rather be right or would you rather be connected? So this is, and especially in improv, somebody just wants to be right about the scene, but this is where this is where it's going. And it's like, no, but do you want to be connected to your partner? Because that's the whole point of doing this, right?
Yeah.
So, in answer to the question, and this is just, I'm just putting it out there. I don't know if this is true. This could be absolute bullshit.
I can't imagine it is.
Well, it might be. Let's open to that possibility.
No, I'm closing it off to the possibility that we could speak bullshit. I can't get on board with that.
Yeah, no, I know. But as much as that's a very nil possibility, that's what my theory is, that your brain loves patterns, loves organization, loves shoulds, loves that because it's something to grab onto. It's the uncertainty and ambiguity that make people go, oh, I'm not safe. What's going on? What's happening? So that's what I think.
Okay. I now would like to add to that, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you for setting that up so nicely. That makes so much sense. And I think, again, there's a couple of things that come into my brain. One is around the certainty. And like you just said, to the brain, uncertainty is unsafe. And the brain's number one priority, as I bang on about all the friggin' time, is safety, is survival. So that's why it likes certainty, because it's like, I know what's going to happen. I've created this safety bubble around me. Okay, let's go. Let's keep doing that, shall we? Because I know we're going to keep being safe. So it sort of shuns the uncertainty. Now, the other part of that is we quite often, I think that we have to have, because you said we have to have both certainty and uncertainty.
Yes. Yeah.
I think sometimes we think we have to have all of the things all from one thing. So it's like, okay, so I have to have certainty and uncertainty in my business. I have to have certainty and uncertainty in my relationship. But I don't think that's always possible. I think just understanding that we need both can then help you set it up in a way that will let both flourish. So it might be, I'm about to do this new venture in business, which is completely uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen. It's uncharted territory. So that's a lot of uncertainty. So I'm going to lean on my relationship to get some certainty, however that might be. Or I'm going to lean on my hobbies to get some certainty,
or
something
sport,
I love, or my friends, or something like that. So you've got this comfort. I always like to think of it as like sitting on a massive giant pillow or fluffy cloud that you can get from one place. So then your brain feels more safe to step into that all important uncertainty, to be able to innovate and move forward and be present and all that good shit we've been talking about.
Yes, and that really makes me think, and I think this is going to bring it round to where we started. Is it possible that when you're sick, you're not safe? Okay, so you're not safe. You're not, okay? Because if this was the olden days, you get pecked off by some fucking tiger or something because like you're weak and you're not keeping up with everybody else, right?
That's true. That's really true.
So is it possible that we then deny that reality of unsafety and try to control by getting, doing the things that we know we should be doing?
Yes.
So that's really interesting, like that.
It's really interesting.
Unsafeness of being sick.
And because you mentioned weakness, we've mentioned letting people down, we've mentioned all these things that come into our brain when we are sick. And again, all those things just contribute to our brain feeling unsafe. So I think you're absolutely right. For all these different reasons, when we're sick, when we're not firing on all cylinders, our brain feels unsafe. And then it goes into fight or flight mode, panic mode. And that's when we start pushing against the reality and trying to control the situation. And when the shit hits the fan even more.
Yes, totally. And it's like your body, rebels because your body does just need to not feel like it has to control because it doesn't have the energy. So it's like this real like battle that's going on between mind and body,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So maybe surrender is important.
Yeah, I think so. And also knowing that it's very unlikely that anything terrible is going to happen if you don't.
Yeah.
Like I haven't done anything in my business for 3 weeks, like
oh my
tiny
God!
bit here and there. And I did
Yeah.
say to myself, I was like, Laura, no one's going to die if you don't post on social media for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
No one's going to die if you don't write this article.
Yep.
But you are going to feel like shit if you do, and if you put pressure on yourself to do it. So I think it's like surrender and get some perspective, people.
Yes, totally. And it's really interesting too, because like it just made me think of when you said that about nobody's going to notice that you weren't doing social media for 3 weeks. That is so true, because I've done things like, gone overseas for like 8 weeks and I come back and it's like people go, oh, were you gone? Like what?
Yeah. What do you mean? You weren't
like
weeping every day.
Yeah, exactly. So we underestimate how people are just living their own life. They don't notice that we're not out there doing this and doing all this stuff. So
and if they do, they're absolutely fine with you saying, I'm sick, I'm unwell,
Totally.
I cannot operate at this time.
Yeah. Totally. All right, I think that's what are our
I think
takeaways?
that's good. I think our takeaway. Oh gosh, my brain just went straight to like menu log. Then when you said what are our takeaways, can I just say, by the way, when I was sick with COVID, I reckon I probably spent the majority of my time looking through menu log for food. I rarely ordered anything, but I'd be like, oh, I'm hungry, and then I'd look at everything and go, no, I can't eat anything. But honestly, it's like that whole thing you do with Netflix, right? You just scroll through, keep searching, and then you don't end up watching anything. So that was actually how I spent COVID, just looking at menu log.
And Bake Off. You're watching Bake Off. Well.
Great British Bake Off. Oh my gosh, there's like 15 seasons, I think. So I've watched like 4 seasons while I've been sick. That's so many seasons, so much telly, but that was all I could do. I surrendered to the Great British Bake Off.
Good.
Anyway, back to the topic. Takeaways. Okay, well, let me tell you mine, and then you can go. Sure. Hopefully, I'm going to control the situation, which is what we said don't do. So there's one takeaway. Stop trying to control situations and stop fighting against reality. So I think, we all know when we're fighting against something, right? When we are pushing against a brick wall, when we're pushing shit uphill. Yep. So I think that can be our trigger.
Not working.
That can be the trigger to go, okay, I think I'm fighting against something here. What can I do to just surrender, take a moment, allow myself to let that curious side of my brain open up so that I can then find a solution and navigate my way through this one step at a time.
Yeah. I think my takeaway is, like, take it easy, Tony. Like, don't be so bloody dramatic about it. Like, yes, you feel unsafe, but you're not unsafe. And in fact, your body knows best. So
it does.
It does. Like, it so does. It really, really does. Okay.
Can I just tell you, I'm very excited about this concept because with like us, our subconscious brain, right, is driving our body, and that's what knows best. So before we start this podcast today, I had an ABBA song in my head, which was really annoying me. But it's like something about Does Your Mama Say, or something like that. I can't even remember what it's called.
Baby.
No.
Know that you're out, that one.
No.
Take it easy, take it easy.
Yes, that one.
And nowhere to
but
go.
listen to the words.
No. Yeah. Take it easy.
Take it easy. Subconsciously, my body and my brain knew that that's what we needed to talk about today. That's what we're going to talk about today. There you go, my friends. Remember ABBA, right?
ABBA.
If you feel like
take
you're pushing shit uphill, take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy, Tony. That's our sign out.
That's our motto. # take it easy, Tony.
Yeah.
All right. Surrender.
Surrender.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Banterpreneurs. If you have a question for us to answer on the show, submit it on our website at banterpreneurs.com. And if you liked what you heard, give us a review and share the love with a fellow business mate. See you next week for more solopreneur shenanigans.